Broadcasting from the great state of Michigan. Podcasting across the world and beyond. Across the world and beyond. It's the Easyspeak and Speakesy330 podcast. A podcast that will go in depth on local and national news, ranging from sports to beer and barbecue. We've got you covered. Get ready for Ain't My Money, Not My Problem, where we'll make the picks, you make the money. Now, go grab your favorite beverage, sit back, and join Tom, Rich, JP, a.k.a. The Giant, and Drew. It's showtime.
Yes, it's Sunday night. You know what that means. It's time for the Easyspeak podcast. We want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight or listening on the podcast platforms. We're glad to have you. And if you've been with us in previous shows, the intro looks a little bit different. We about 2 months ago, we decided to put some money together. Actually, Rich put some money together and had a voiceover guy put an intro and then other things together. And this was before Drew departed the show. So in honor of our new member, Tim, he is taking the place of Drew. So if you caught the intro, it said, not Drew in the lower right-hand corner. But ironically enough, they're both Buckeye fans. So, I mean, I don't know what happened if they fell when they were young and hit their head and got confused. But anyways, love you, Dad. Because he's a Buckeye fan. But anyways, we got a fun show for you guys tonight. We're going to talk a little Tigers. Boy, it's a disappointing weekend. Losing 2 of 3 to get to San Diego. Rich, who unfortunately isn't with us today, he's got other commitments. Ryan is doing a private tryout for another baseball team, so he is occupied with that. We're hoping maybe he pops in at some point. But it was myself, Rich, and JP went down to the ball game yesterday. We were pretty excited for it. Downtown was rocking. And, well, they lost by almost 2 touchdowns. So we'll get into that. We'll talk a little bit more as far as, what we expect from them moving forward the rest of the season. And then we're going to do a mid-segment rapid fire. I'm going to spit out some team names and see if they're buyers, sellers, and the new invented word that JP brought up, stay putters. So we're going to hit on that. The Washington Commanders, the sale of their team has been finalized. We're going to discuss maybe the future for that team, maybe a name change, maybe a new stadium. We'll see. So we'll hit on that. And this week we're going to dive into tight ends and running backs for our fantasy football preview. So we're going to give you our top picks and then give you some sleeper picks that maybe you haven't thought about that could possibly make some noise in this upcoming season. And over under Michigan, Ohio State player stats. So Tim's going to take his duties as a Buckeye fan. He's going to give his over under for his Buckeyes, and JP's going to do it for his Wolverines. But without further ado, let me cue this bad boy up for our first guest. Yep. Let's see here. JP the Giant. Oh, yeah. What's up, buddy?
Come on. Hey, I just wanted to say welcome to the show, Drew. No, that was my first time seeing that introduction, man, and that's pretty cool. I like that. That was really good.
I put that together the other day, and I had a few extra minutes today, so I've got a couple other surprises for you guys. So
good.
excited about this show, and we're going to talk to Tim. Tim, what's up? Tim, Drew, whatever your name is. We know you're a Buckeye.
Yeah, whatever the hell your name is.
I don't mind being Drew. He seems like he knows what he's talking about. Seems like a very intelligent person.
Yeah, well.
I'll be Drew for the next hour and a half.
We actually, Rich actually reached out to that guy about possibly doing a audit, we'll say, and take his name out and put Tim's in, but he wanted a whole nother bunch of money. So decided, well, you know what, we'll make it work. So
I'll be Drew. It's fine.
Yeah. So we're going to get right into this, but actually before we get started, I'll give a shout out to JP and my former co-worker, Joe Lara, aka Lax Rax. He's doing some music now in his free time, and he's going to be putting together some beats and different things for us that we're going to integrate toward the show and some of our socials. So I want to say what's up to Joe, and I understand he does listen to the show and enjoys it, and I'm glad that he does, and we're excited about kind of joining forces. I'm going to help him out, and he's going to help us out. So before we get started, I really wanted to say hello to him. And it's been a couple years since I've seen him, so I got to get out and say hello to him. So, but like I said in the beginning, we're going to talk some Tigers. Rough weekend. As you can see, there's a picture of us pregame. We were all smiling, having a good time pregame.
Are you FF rough?
Oh, well, I mean, the Tigers were. I wasn't. I don't think any of us were, but the Tigers certainly were feeling the old rough, so to speak. Yeah. But it's always a good time. We met at the Tin Roof, and that place is just out of control. I mean, it's a little bit of Nashville in downtown Detroit, which is really nice. It's really good to see. I mean, we got down there at like 3:30, 4 o'clock. Couple hours before game time, and it was bumping. So JP, talk about your experiences down there for that game and the expectations.
Yeah, it was a little hot when we got down there. We got the Tin Roof. We started having some drinks. We kind of bogarted a table and kind of made it the speakeasy table there at the Tin Roof. The lines to get into the stadium are very long for the Turkey Stearns throwback Negro League jerseys. Which we all got, which is pretty cool, which is hanging up down here.
Well, I don't think any of us will fit in the jerseys that we got because they ran out of the bigger sizes.
So expectations from the game, Friday, obviously the Padres got out to a lead. Tigers fought back. I said, okay, Manning's starting. Let's go down to the game. They put Manning in the game. He pitched pretty well, and boom, weather delay. Next thing you know, we're all getting shoot up into the concourse, buying $13 beers, wasting money. And then, we come back down from the concourse after the weather delay, and what do you know? It's Mason Englert, who gets rocked for 5 runs, and then they brought in the other kid, whose name escapes me right now, who should still be in Toledo, and he got rocked as well. So I think we left at the top of the 8th inning. There was nothing more to see. It was time to get home. Kind of hungry and kind of wanted something under $80 to eat, so we got out of there.
Yeah, I seen a stat today that Englert was the first pitcher to give up 10 hits in like 2 or 3 seasons. I mean, I don't know what AJ was thinking keeping him in there, and so it was disappointing. But we got down there and got into the Copa about 45 minutes to an hour before the game. Went up to the Miller Lite Landing, which used to be called the Pepsi Porch, and to our surprise, they have happy hour prior to the start of the game, which, I mean, $5 for 16-ounce Coors Light Miller Lights, man, I'm telling you, it was cheaper to drink in there at that point than being over at the Tin Roof. But
we all took 2.
Oh, we were double fisted. We took advantage of those. We ended up 8 drinks was under $60, which was insane. So but going into the game, it just, you looked at this, seeing that the Tigers had won 5 of their last 7. Yeah, they took 3 or 4 from Kansas City. Yeah, they're in last place, but still, they did it on the road. They took care of business after taking 2 or 3 in Seattle. So there was a lot of high hopes, a lot of high expectations going into this series.
Yeah.
And it was going to define, in what my opinion was, how the future of the team was going to kind of unravel, we'll say. Are they going to be buyers? Are they going to be sellers? Are they going to be stay putters? You know, I think a lot was riding on this weekend, and we learned a lot about this team after, you know, this disappointing weekend. They did play nice today. Alex Faedo pitched 7 innings, only gave up 1 hit. He was really good. That was probably his best outing as a Tiger pitcher in his career. And, you know, he was called up from Toledo to make this start. So it'll be interesting to see if he stays up with the team or if they send him back down. But Tim, I guess I'll start with you. Now I think the picture's painted. I think we can all sit here and agree that I think this is probably the end of the road for the hopes of a Central Division. Are there any players on this current roster, on the roster today, that are untouchable, we'll say?
I would say Riley Green's probably the only untouchable player you have. Even Torque at this point, he's up and down. It's a roller coaster with him. So if you could get something for him, I mean, it's worth a shot. We're so far from being competitive that if you have something someone wants, get rid of it and start building your farm system for the future.
Yeah, I mean, I put together a list here. You got Green, you got Torkelson, and
maybe Matt Manning's untouchable, but the other 3 I would trade if you get an offer for.
It would take.
Casey Mize still alive or no?
Yeah, he's still alive. And he's been with the team, which is really actually nice to see that even though he's not playing, he's still supporting the team. But I put together this list of I don't see, because these are the core that they're going to build on. Manning prior to last night's start didn't look so bad. He you know, coming off an injury, which is probably the reason why he didn't come out after the rain delay. We were pretty disappointed, but you know, you don't want to take any chances with this guy. So and Scuba's been good. We really don't know what Mize is yet. He showed, you know, flashes last year. So
2 years ago, right?
2 years ago, yeah. I mean, and before he got hurt last year. So, but it's the what if, it's the ceiling. Where's it at? It's hard to tell at this point. But I want to go back to Friday night's game and a situation that happened in the 9th inning. You got Josh Hader on the mound. It's the bottom of the 9th. He's probably one of the hardest throwers in baseball, one of the top closers in baseball. They decide to pinch hit Zach McKinstry with Miggy. Comes off the bench. Miggy, who clearly can't hit fastballs anymore.
Right.
Comes in, first 2 pitches down the pipe, misses, and then he comes with a nasty changeup, upper 80. So he drops about 10 miles an hour on his fastball, and he whiffs. I mean, is this a situation where they're just trying to appease Miggy, or is that can't possibly be a scenario where AJ Hinch says, "I'm going for this win. Miggy, you're up." JP.
Yeah, I mean, I think analytically he had to have seen something there. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Hader's a lefty.
Yeah. So
I think they went with the right-handed, left-handed matchup. As of late, Miggy hasn't done too bad, honestly. You know, you look back at the series in Kansas City, he had to go ahead hit. You know what I mean, to take the lead in one of those games. So I don't think he's looked too bad lately. McKinstry's that guy's on a big downhill slide. I thought he was one of our core players 2 months ago, and I would probably say he isn't now, to be honest with you.
And they put him at third. They put him at third today, and guess what? Error. They've been jinxed at that position.
Yeah, he muffed that one. That was Javi all day. But yeah, I don't know, man. You look at the bench, and there's not very much over there to use as it is anyway, you know. So
yeah,
they had to have seen something. It was maybe the righty-lefty matchup, like I said, analytically, but That was something that I questioned,
especially
when McKinstry went 2 for 4 and had a home run in that game.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, you said, they don't have a whole lot other than what they have on the field. I mean, they're kind of pinching to get players that are actually Major League Baseball players. Half of this roster is AAA at best. And actually, to think about it, they're 9 games under 500 currently, and I don't think any of us expected them to be even that close to 500.
No.
So it just kind of goes to show you, AJ Hinch has been turning the right screws, pushing the right buttons to get these guys that really have no business winning. And, they're not going to have a winning record, but they're playing competitive, good baseball, and they showed what their abilities were today. So moving forward, obviously this is, the season's pretty much just they're going to play it out. I think they'll end up third. I don't see any more movement in the division. Maybe Cleveland goes on a run. Minnesota's been playing fairly decent baseball, so there's going to be up and downs between them. What are the biggest, most glaring needs? I'll start with you, Tim, that the Tigers need moving forward.
A third baseman that can hit and produce at least probably 20 home runs a year, probably 70 to 80 RBIs, and then probably another outfielder. Personally, I would take Miggy's $30 million and go get you 2 at-bats middle of the order once his money comes off the books this offseason.
And there's going to be money to sell or money to buy. Will Chris Ilitch open up those purse strings? It remains to be seen. He certainly did for Javi, which was currently a big mistake. But JP, what are some of your areas of need that they need now to make this team better?
Well, I mean, you're looking at it down the road. You're going to have about $50 million to play with, and I'll see for the last few weeks now. I've been talking about a second baseman every day, and an everyday third baseman for sure. You got to solidify those 2 pieces in the infield. Andy Ibanez has been okay, you know what I mean, but he's not an everyday player. And they've kind of shuffled whoever they can get to play third base over there this year. It's been Maton, it's been McKinstry, it's been numerous different amounts of guys. They need a third baseman. You got to have a good third baseman. And I think another outfielder, I do like the combination of Kerry Carpenter, Matt Vierling, and Riley Green, obviously. But I think if you can find somebody better to get in there. I like Carpenter and Green going forward. I'm probably not as high on Vierling as I was 2 weeks ago. It's been a roller coaster this season. But I think that he's a guy that you can have on your big league roster. But $50 million can go a long way to finding 2 or 3 everyday players, in my opinion. If that's the way they decide to go. And then maybe even another long reliever for the bullpen, because the setup, I like Foley as a setup guy. Lang has his moments. I've loved Tyler Holton, but they need that long relief guy when their starting pitching starts getting into trouble that, can kind of keep them at bay for a few innings.
Yeah, I mean, Englert was that long relief guy.
Yeah.
White was the other pitcher that
Brendan White,
who came in, and Shreve was really the only one that actually looked halfway decent in yesterday.
And Shreve's done a decent job this year.
Yeah, he's comes in, he's a lefty, gets the 1 or 2 guys, but I mean they need guys, especially with young pitching, and AJ's shown that they're not going to overextend some of those young guards, rightfully so. You don't want to risk any long-term injuries. I mean, look at Mize. They didn't overextend him, and he still had Tommy John and then Skubal's injuries. So, and
then you lost Tyler Alexander too. And he was kind of that long relief guy, and that's what
starter.
Yeah, that's what got Brendan White called up. So, I mean, they looked okay in the beginning, and then like major leagues, they figure these guys out, and after so long. But Holton's the guy that's a waiver wire pickup from the Diamondbacks that has an ERA of 1.6 right now.
And I think you and I have talked about it. I think he's the guy long term, a potential closing candidate. He's a fireballer, and he goes right after hitters. I don't trust Lang, and he showed it today. He almost blew that 2-run lead. And I get it. It was raining pretty hard at the start of that inning, so I'll give him that. But prior to that, couple of games prior to that, he has not looked good at all. Surprisingly, he got 1, 2, 3 in the combined no-hitter game. I was shocked after that.
Yeah.
So, but I do see Holton as being maybe somebody they look at least in the conversation, as being a closer. I mean, for me, I think a glaring hole, you guys said third base. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. Left fielder. Akil Baddoo doesn't have an arm. I know he tries. He just has nothing behind his arm. He's got range as far as fielding goes. He took back a home run Friday night, and he's shown flashes there, but he's very inconsistent at the plate. He's either home run, is feast or famine with him. It seems that he's had a hard time getting on base. It's either a home run or nothing. So I think you look at him just like you look at Andy Ibanez. Andy Ibanez has been a great pickup, another great find for the Tigers. But these aren't everyday Major League Baseball players. These are guys that play 2-3 times a week, and at that. But even Scott Harris said a couple weeks ago, they're playing. The majority of these guys on this roster are not everyday Major League Baseball players. So what they're asking these guys to do, it's just not in their DNA to be able to do. So, So, I mean, you revamp the whole infield, third base, second base. I agree with you. So they have to play it smart. They can't go out and spend all their money on one position, kind of like they did with Javi Baez.
Yeah, I would say shortstop, but I think we're kind of stuck with Javi, because of the contract issues, and I don't see him opting out of the money that he's getting here.
No,
and getting that money anywhere else.
He's not getting it anywhere else.
Albeit, we're going to be stuck with him.
They benched him the first game in Kansas City, and he played a pretty solid series. He made some adjustments. But one thing I noticed over the past weekend in his approach, and even they highlighted today on the play-by-play coverage, he doesn't hold his hands together. He spreads his hands apart on the bat, which is very interesting. I'm curious to know as to why he might do that.
Maybe the explanation was so he doesn't roll over on the baseball, which I get, but
he's rolling over on the pitch because he's swinging at everything in the left-hander's batter's box. But I mean, there needs to be an overhaul, and maybe you look at a new hitting coach, possibly somebody that's going to go in there and give a different voice. I love AJ Hinch. I think he is the right manager for this team, for a young team. So, and I've said it before, I really believe that this team of core young players that they have, when healthy, reminds me a lot of the Houston Astros before they made their World Series run.
Javi shows he gives you the glimpses of the greatness from time to time. He has an absolute hose at shortstop.
Sure.
One of his most underrated values that people don't talk about, his arm is elite. Mm-hmm. I've seen him make a couple diving plays deep in the hole and throw guys out that you don't see around the big leagues all the time. So if he can just get that, hit 260, hit 20 home runs, 70 RBIs, 80 RBIs, I'm good. You know what I mean? Because he's going to give you those plays that you're going to be like, wow,
And he does that. He does that on a consistent basis. He'll go up the middle and make a ridiculous diving play. And he did have an error today in the ninth, which, again, I chalk it up to the wet conditions. The ball was spinning already, and it hit his glove and just slipped right out. So, but, I mean, it's been exciting thus far, and it's always a good time to go down there. And I do encourage going down and experiencing the atmosphere. Downtown Detroit's just so underrated. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of my out-of-town buddies give me a lot of shit about Detroit. It's like, when's the last time you were here? And their answer isn't the right answer. Oh, it's about 20 years ago. So if you were here 2 years ago, there'd be a big change. So, but we're going to move on to rapid fire. We're going to do teams that might be on the precipice of a playoff run, or maybe they're looking to cash in for the future. So I'm going to pop some teams up on the screen. And Tim, I'm going to start with you. Who we saw this week in the San Diego Padres, buyers, sellers, or stay putters?
I would be buyers if I'm them. They have the pitching talent, the hitting talent to put a run together. I know they were 10 games out last I seen from first, but I mean, we just seen what they're capable of scoring 2 touchdowns on the Tigers. So,
did you catch Juan Soto's second home run Friday night? Almost hit the Silverado parked up in dead center field on the fountain. Unbelievable. Yep. I mean, the talent that they have, why they're 10 games out is beyond me. But yeah, so you say buyers. JP, the Cubs.
I think the Cubs have to be buyers. They need another bat in the middle of the lineup. Stroman and Steele have both been good on the mound for them. But I think they just need one more guy. They have a pretty good lineup. And like I said last week, I expect them to gain a lot of ground. But if I'm the Cubs, I'm a buyer.
JP, I'll stay with you here. The Red Sox.
The Red Sox are a fringe team. They're probably a buyer too. Yeah, they need some more. They need some more pitching. Their pitching's kind of hamstring them a little bit this year. I'm going to go with buyers.
Kim, this is a team that showed lots of flashes in the first half, and they're still kind of in the conversation. Buyers, sellers, or stay putters?
If I was Miami, I would sell. You're 12 out of first place in the East, and you started off so hot. I think they're coming back down to earth a little bit. I just don't see them rebounding to make the playoffs.
Yeah, they've got a lot of pitching that could probably get them some really decent major league talent or decent prospects in return. And I'll stick with you here with the Guardians.
If I was Cleveland, I'd buy. You're in the AL Central, worst division in baseball, maybe in history. You're only 3 games out. I would buy and try to make a run.
All right. My dad would really enjoy that comment for sure, because I'm pulling for the Guardians just on his behalf. So, JP, these boys always seem to open their pocketbooks, and it never seems to end. They're always spending money. What are they going to do this trade deadline?
I would be a stay putter so I'll be the first stay putter of the day here. The Dodgers, they have a good rotation. You got Freddie Freeman, you got Will Smith, you got all these guys. I'm a stay putter if I'm the Dodgers. I like their roster.
And I'll stay with you, JP. The Cincinnati Reds. This is America's team.
That's a stay putter. They have all the young talent. You're not giving away Steer. You're not giving away Dela Cruz. You're not trading away McLean. They got a good young, solid foundation that's going to compete in that division year in and year out. I'm staying put.
Yeah, and I think where they're at is maybe a little early in their expectations to be as good as they have been. I mean,
they're ahead of schedule.
Yeah, they're in the mix there in the Central. So, But if you watched last week, I do think Milwaukee will eclipse that division. They have overtook them last week. So, and then Tim will close it out with the Yankees.
If I was the Yankees, I would stay put. You're 9 out and a loaded AL East. You're in 4th place. I would buy if you can get Ohtani, but that's it. Other than that, stay put.
Yeah. But what's it going to cost? And there's a bonus question real quick. Ohtani, is he going to be an Angel in 2 weeks or not?
He'll be a Yankee.
JP, Ohtani, 2 weeks. Is he an Angel or not?
He'll be an Angel.
And I agree with you. I don't think there's a lot of teams that are going to be willing to pony up the return that the Angels are expecting. And then on the flip side, I don't think there's a lot of teams that are going to be willing to pony up the years and the amount of
how many teams can really afford his contract?
Is it
2 or 3?
But if you're looking at Los Angeles, is it the team or is it the manager? Because I'm looking at Moniak, and they got Hunter Renfroe, and they got Trout, and they got Ohtani, and they got this guy and that guy. that they have a big league roster that should be in contention for the playoffs.
There's no reason. There's no reason, even with Trout out.
To me, I think Nevin's gone. They got to find a legitimate manager, and I don't see a team in the majors that's willing to put up as much as you're going to need to get Ohtani mid-season. There's no way.
And the other thing, a lot of teams are shying away from the 10-year deals. I mean, you look as far as in your backyard in Detroit as an example of why long-term deals just don't work. I mean, we paid for Miggy for the 3 to 4 years after he signed that contract, and the 6 years thereafter was all kind of a throw-in, and then you see the end result. So, and then they turn around and get Javi Baez for 7 years, so they're kind of stuck with that contract. But I mean, I just don't see a lot of teams running down the gates to sign these players for, exorbitant amount, not the money, the terms. So I can see a situation where they're like, you know what, I'll offer you 4 years at, I don't know, $300 million for 4 years.
These baseball deals are getting obnoxiously long for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, they're overspending for the now, and then they don't think about the years after, and we're feeling it right now. The time is ticking as far as Miggy's going. So from baseball to some football, we talked about earlier. The Commies, the Washington Commanders, Dan Snyder no longer the owner. We were talking pre-show. Dan Snyder bought the Washington then Redskins in 1999 for $800 million, and he sells it 24 years later for $6 billion. So not a bad investment from Dan Snyder, but I do have to say the NFL gave him one last kick in the ass by giving him a bill for $60 million for his, I guess, character and his sexual misconduct as an owner. So they put a fine on him, which he just made $66 billion. That $60 million is a drop in the bucket. So I was going to ask Rich this question, but he's not here, unfortunately. But I'll start with you, JP. New ownership. This is a storied franchise, even as much as the name is kind of an embarrassment. We all agree it should still be the football team, and we'll get to that in a minute. But these guys were top of the line, top class organization when they had the fans were out there dressed as pigs. They had a nickname. I can't think of it all.
The Joe Gibbs days.
Yeah, they had the band.
3 Super Bowls.
Yeah, this is a storied franchise.
Yeah.
And when Dan Snyder took it over, he kind of smeared the name, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. New ownership, obviously, part of it is Magic Johnson, which is really cool, local situation. What does this mean for the future of the Washington football team?
I think it means a lot. I think they're already, we've talked about, they're already looking for a name change, maybe a new stadium. I think Phil Harris is a young, innovative mind. They're combined. They're partnered up with 21 other people. Magic Johnson being one of the minority owners of the Commanders. Now I almost said Redskins. Sorry, but I think there's a lot of exciting things. Harris, who grew up a Redskins fan, very enthusiastic about the team. Paid for bar tabs in Washington, surrounding areas. His first day on the job for everybody. He talks about what it means to him and what the team's meant to him growing up in the DC area. And I think he's going to bring a lot of passion. I don't think these guys are going to be scared to spend. He's already an owner. He's a majority owner of the 76ers, majority owner of the New Jersey Devils. So he knows what it's like to run a big time organization. He's not green. He's not new to this. I think they need to start by spending some money on a quarterback. And I think he'll get right down to that because I don't think Sam Howell's going to be that guy. But I am excited for Washington, and I do think that they'll be an up-and-coming thing. You got Eric Bieniemy there. You got Phil Harris, who bought the organization. And things are looking on the up and up for the boys in D.C. there.
Tim, as JP just mentioned, Eric Bieniemy. Previously, years as the OC in Kansas City. Kind of a surprise when he decided to leave Kansas City to go to Washington for the same position. Riverboat Ron has been there for many years. He fought and won a battle with cancer, which you're definitely familiar with that. Do you think there was an agreement maybe put in place? And I guess I'll add a second part to this question. Was there a thought that Eric Bieniemy will maybe be the head coach? Maybe this will be Rivera's last year. And then if that is the case with this new ownership, do you think they stick with some of the coaching decisions that they made with the previous ownership?
I believe there was some kind of agreement in place where Bieniemy will be the new head coach with the previous owner. Does it stay intact? We'll see how he does as an OC calling plays. I think he wants to get Mahomes shadow a little bit to prove he's a good coach and it's not Mahomes carrying him.
Or Reed.
That's a 50-50 kind of thing. Bieniemy wants to prove he's a good coach.
Right. I mean, it didn't seem like the Chiefs put up a fight, we'll say, to have him stay in Kansas City, which makes you wonder how much of an impact he actually was with that team. The documentary there, Quarterbacks, didn't really show a whole lot about Eric Bieniemy, and I wonder if that was calculated. But as I kind of hinted to in the intro to this set, maybe a name change. And according to Fan Nation, the Commander Country, which is the Commander fan news site, we'll say part of Sports Illustrated, Magic Johnson, one of the new owners in Josh Harris's group that purchased the team from Dan Snyder for $6.05 billion, confirmed that a potential name change could be on the table after the upcoming season. What do you think? I mean, we sat here pre-show and said it should still be the football team, and anybody I know that's a fan of football kind of said the same thing. This is a really weird name that they picked. I'm not sure if they went with the fan vote or whatnot, but do you see a situation, JP, where they come in and they just revamp name from Washington?
Yeah, I was never a big fan of the Commanders name in the first place. I kind of thought they should have stayed still with the football team. I think they can come up with something better than this. I can think of many other things, some inappropriate that Commanders is tied to, and it's not a football team.
Right. Right.
No, yeah, it's all new innovation, new everything, all the way down to the W. Maybe they change the colors. Who knows? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something new. I mean, there's no traditions in the NFL. If you want to revamp it, just do away with the logo, do away with all of it, and do something new.
The logo is very, very generic. Just looking at it, it just looks. Hey, we're checking in. We're checking in on our own show. One could only think that that's our good buddy Rich Chiaspa. Checking in from the baseball.
It looks like the W. It almost reminds me of the WM from Wayne Memorial, the high school I went to. It's pretty tacky. I think we can do better, and I think that they're going to start tackling those kind of issues immediately.
Oh, for sure. Real quick, Tim, do you see them changing it, and would you like to see a change?
Yes, for both. Commanders is just a stale name. I think everyone already knew Snyder was going out at the time of the name change, so I don't know why it got pushed through, other than money and more merchandise to be sold because of the name.
Could be.
Yeah.
But
good point.
They need a new name, and I think it'll happen within the next year or two, definitely.
I think with a new name becomes a new birth, a new beginning, new ownership, kind of getting away from the stain that Dan Snyder left on the organization. And another thing that could help that is a new stadium. I think it's fair to say FedEx Field is the Oakland Alameda County stadium in the NFL where the A's play. That's a dumpster fire. FedEx Field, I think it houses 87,000. And as you can see some of these pictures, we've got water rushing from the upper deck onto the lower deck. You got gates falling on them, so fans falling into the tunnels. I mean, it's just an absolute debacle stadium. JP, with this new ownership, maybe a new beginning, a new respect for the Washington brand in that area. Do you think this will now lead to the development of a new stadium? Maybe not even in the DC area, maybe in Virginia, maybe somewhere in Maryland.
Yeah, I think you got to. As you said, that field's way overdue. They're overdue for a revamp. The gate thing was insane. They almost fell on Jalen Hurts.
They were all Eagles fans too.
Well, Eagles, yeah, yeah. So it's time. I think they will. Nobody wants a shower or golden shower while they're in the lower bowl.
Oh God, can you imagine? Ooh, it's
yeah.
nasty. And in this day and age, like 87,000 fans, that's almost too much. And if you look at the way they've played the past couple of years, you see a lot more empty seats, and the NFL does not want that. That is not a good look. So
we know these processes take a long time. You got to find the land, and then it's got to be passed through many people, and it's a very expensive project, especially the way these new stadiums are being built now.
Yeah. But I think with this new ownership, and maybe one of the reasons why they had so many people involved was to kind of get into the good graces with some local dignitaries, we'll say, that might be able to sweeten the deal a little bit. I think Magic Johnson coming into play, it's good for business. He's a well-known name. So I think that's going to go long as far as, getting new stadiums, getting new developments involved. So it's going to be good to see. The NFL was better when Washington's better. Just like the Giants, and I hate to say it, the Cowboys, but when these traditional teams are successable, the league is successful. So
yeah.
But we'll see. Moving forward here, we're going to go in.
Except the Cowboys. Nobody wants to see the Cowboys win.
I agree. But you're right. I take that back. I take that.
Yeah, we don't like the Cowboys.
Fuck the Cowboys.
Well, yeah, fuck the Cowboys.
It's fantasy preview time. Last week we did wide receivers and quarterbacks. And this week I get to do my tight ends, as I thought we were doing last week.
Yeah.
My eyes were deceiving me. So we're going to do running backs and tight ends. And we're going to give our top picks and then some sleeper picks. And I'm going to put the top running backs. And this is according to ESPN Fantasy Football. Your number one pick, Christian McCaffrey. And one thing I have found the last couple of years of drafting, whenever they pick the number one, whoever is the number one rated running back, per just about every other publication, it never seems to work out that way. They usually end up getting hurt fairly early. So I tend to avoid their top pick. So, Tim, I'm going to go with you. Who you got for top picks for running back fantasy this year?
Bijan's surprising at number 3, but I kind of like it. Atlanta's going to lean on him hard. I think Atlanta's going to win the NFC South. So Bijan's going to have probably
that's a bold projection there, bud.
Yeah, he's going to have a top 3 year. Travis Etienne at 11 doesn't make no sense. Jacksonville should be a really good team this year that leans on the run game.
I think there's injury problems when it comes to him.
Jahmyr Gibbs at 17, I think he's just going to be an absolute stud. He's built for the Lions offense. Lions are a run-heavy team, short passing team. He's just going to gel. He'll be a top 10 back for sure by the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Bijan's number 3 and Gibbs is 17. So, I mean, they're two completely different backs. I get that. But they're dynamic in their own way. Bijan's more of a power back. Jahmyr's a Kamara type back. He's going to come out of the backfield. So, JP, who you got for top running backs?
Yeah, put that list back up there for me real quick so I can tear this shit apart. Look at it. So they got Nick Chubb at number 9, who's better than Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs. Oh, no. He's better than Derrick Henry. He's better than Jonathan Taylor. He's better than Saquon Barkley. He's better than Bijan Robinson. That's a lot of disrespect, a lot of shade that ESPN's throwing at Nick Chubb, first of all.
Every year.
Yep. And then my guy, Everything else is kind of stand pat. The Bijan thing's kind of surprising. The guy hasn't played a down in the NFL yet, and he's already being touted as the third running back,
and he really didn't have a big year last year at Texas,
which is a disrespect considering the year that Josh Jacobs came off last year. If he doesn't decide to hold out and play this year, Ramondre Stevenson, who I had last year in fantasy, a hell of a receiving back out of the backfield. Another guy that Kenneth Walker at 16 has potential to jump. He had 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns last year and didn't really come on until about quarter way into the season.
Yeah.
I think if he can improve his receiving out of the backfield, he's going to be a guy that's going to be in that top 5 talk towards the end of the year. He's a guy I really like. He's a sleeper. So look for him in your drafts this year. I think receivers are going to be prioritized more than running backs. I think running backs have always been the first thing off the board. I think that's getting ready to change, even in fantasy.
The NFL is changing in that regard.
Yeah.
So you've got a sleeper of Kenneth Walker. Do you have any other sleepers you want to mention?
I like Alexander Madison, too, from Minnesota. He's a guy that in spot action, Dalvin Cook had, numerous health issues over the years. And in spot action, Madison always delivers in fantasy. Anybody that's a fantasy football veteran knows about Alexander Madison. And I think now that he's getting all the snaps, I think you're going to be getting top 10 production from Madison.
Yeah, that's a fair estimation. Obviously with Justin Jefferson on the team, he's always going to get the priority as far as the ball concerned, but that also opens up the door to other guys getting more reps, we'll say, and more yardage production. Tim, you got any sleepers that you want to talk about?
I kind of gave it away already. Jahmyr Gibbs at 17.
Yeah.
I think I said he's going to be Alvin Kamara type top 10 back. Depends on the league too. If it's PPR, he's going to have a lot of catches. So Jahmyr Gibbs will be a top 10 back for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited for him. All indications are, first off, he signed a contract, so he's in camp. There's no holdout. That's always the first and foremost, the most important thing. And athletically, he's gifted. And for them to go and grab him at 12, and more teams were he wasn't going to be there at 15. Bottom line, he was going to be gone. So I'm really excited to see where he's going to end up at. But for me, my top picks last year was Jonathan Taylor was the number one guy. Everybody was clamoring for him, and he just didn't amount to much. He got hurt early on, and that was a problem. I think this is Jonathan Taylor redemption year. I really see him coming out and having a really solid year. This is year 3 in his NFL career. So this is the year that he's going to make his move. His contract situation to be coming up here in a year or two. So I think this is really where you start to see Jonathan Taylor shine. He's kind of the face of that football team right now, and he's a good back. He's at JP. You and I watched him play at Madison. We found out
seen him in person.
First and foremost, live, and boy, oh boy, that was ugly. We're not going to talk about that. And you hit on it too, JP. Nick Chubb is probably the most underrated football player in the NFL. Not to mention running back. He's the most underrated football player. Did you see him lifting weights?
Oh, 600
He got about
pounds.
800 pounds on the bar. The bar looked like an upside down U, and he's just putting this thing. He is an absolute beast.
Yes, he is.
And I don't see any situation where he doesn't get the majority of the reps in Cleveland. And he's a really good first half season fantasy player. He kind of tapers off toward the end of the year because he takes such a pounding. And you look at Cleveland's situation in the previous couple of years, it's been Nick Chubb and nobody else. So he's been the kind of the factor in that team. You shut him down, you shut the Browns down. I think that's going to be a little bit different with Rub and Tug looking good in camp and
Amari Cooper.
Right. I mean, and they're going to have a little bit more of a dynamic offense.
Yep.
We'll see. So Nick Chubb definitely is a player that has never gotten enough respect. I think I took him in the 6th round last year in our draft, and I got a couple chuckles, but I'm like, hey, he just performs, and he did. He helped me out big time.
One more side note on that list, so you look at that list, and I think we can officially announce the death of Alvin Kamara. because he is nowhere near anywhere in that list.
Well,
As
is he going to play this year? Doesn't he have some?
I think the off-field issues and the court cases kind of got to him.
Mm-hmm.
But it's for so long, fantasy owners, we've been used to seeing Comerica in that top 10, and he's officially gone.
What he did 2 years ago was ridiculous. But this is the Derek Carr redemption year in with New Orleans, and they're gonna take home the South.
Yep.
I mean, the NFC South is like the AL Central.
Dirty birds year.
It 7-9 might win that division.
Tim's awfully high on Desmond Ridder over there.
Oh, he certainly is. He certainly is. But I'll give my sleeper running backs here real quick. Here's a guy, rookie last year. He was well on his way to potentially being the offensive rookie of the year with the Jets. Breece Hall, dynamic running back. He was kind of coasting, we'll say, and then he hurts his knee, and the rest is history. So I look for him with an Aaron Rodgers offense, with the offense that they potentially have. We'll see if they can put it together, but on paper they look pretty good. So I think Breece Hall is going to be a big factor there. And here's a guy we're familiar with, and he's going on a team who has a top 2 quarterback in the NFL, DeAndre Swift. I look for him. With their back, they had Sanders is gone. He's with the Panthers now. So I think he's going to get a lot of action. And clearly, when you have a quarterback that's very mobile like Jalen Hurts, that poses a lot of opportunities for running backs out of the backfield. Swift is good at that. He showed that was one of the big things he did well here in Detroit. So not a lot.
Did you see the latest CBS reports yesterday that the Eagles may be interested in Josh Jacobs as well?
Can you imagine that backfield? It's going to cost a lot of money. It's going to cost them a lot. I mean, he's with the
they have the
franchise.
Draft capital to do it, though.
Yeah, I mean, right now I think they were going to franchise him. He's going to make like just under $11 million. So it's going to cost a lot, and that would be you want to get back to the Super Bowl. That's a good way to make that happen. So we're going to move on to tight ends. This is a tight end game. I think Gronkowski, well, go back to him. He kind of changed the position, and Kelsey's just kept it going on. And now we're just seeing so many big athletic. They can run routes. They're fast. They don't necessarily block well, but, man, they can put up points. So it's definitely a tight end game. One reason why I think running backs aren't as valued as much. So, JP, give me your top fantasy tight ends.
Yeah. Obviously, Travis Kelce's the OG here. Mark Andrews, I think, is going to have a big bounce-back year. They've kind of insulated some talent around him with Odell Beckham. I think Rashad Bateman should take a step. A little surprised to see Hawkinson ahead of Kittle. But, Hawkinson is a premium target. Darren Waller's kind of been underwhelming the last couple of years. I'm not ready to trust him. Dallas Goedert, another guy that's kind of a little unheralded, but a really, really good tight end.
Injuries.
Kyle Pitts, man, the guy's a freak, but it just can't seem to put it all together. I understand that they've had quarterback problems in Atlanta. Pat Freiermuth, I mean, all these guys. My sleeper, Evan Ingram, 73 catches last year, 700 yards, 4 touchdowns. I look for him to be more of a red zone target. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to take a big leap this year. And then you're going to have Calvin Ridley and ETN around him. I think he's going to do some damage. Another sleeper of mine, Cole Kmet. Now, if Yahoo and Tim, your boy in Chicago, can take that leap like everybody's saying, I think Cole Kmet is a guy, a long line of Notre Dame tight ends. He's a big guy. He's a fast guy. He showed you some flashes last year. I think he's a guy that could be a sleeper.
Yeah, he's athletic. Kmet, he showed signs last year, but you have Justin Fields running for his life. He's got no offensive line.
Yeah.
Tim, who you got for top fantasy? Tight end.
George Kittle at 5 is disrespectful. He's easily number 2.
Now, do you think maybe that's just because of his health situation? He can't seem to put together a full season, or
Maybe a little bit, but he should be above Waller and Hockenson, no doubt. Kyle Pitts at 7. He's going to be a top 5 tight end for sure. He's just a freak athlete, following the theme there with Atlanta. He's going to be Desmond Ritter's outlet.
Mm-hmm.
The tight end at 17, I'm not going to butcher his name, from Tennessee. He's going to have a good year.
Chigozie Okonkwo?
He was having a breakout year at the end of last year. I think he's going to continue that pace.
Say that 10 times.
And, he's not on the list, but at number 30, Laporta from the Lions. Lions love the short game.
Wow.
So he's going to have probably, being ranked 30. If he's top 15, that's a breakout year.
Well, I mean, you look at Laporta, that is definitely a position where Detroit had to. So, yeah, I mean, 30, that seems really low for him. I don't know. Maybe because he's a rookie. We'll see. Who you got as a potential sleeper?
Sleeper, probably like JP said, Cole Kmet from Chicago. Justin Fields should be having a breakout year. He's expected to take that leap. And he has Mooney and the receiver from Pittsburgh. I can't think of his name right now.
Oh,
Claypool,
yeah, Claypool and Mooney on the outside should free up the middle for Kmet pretty much.
the Canadian Claypool. For me, that my top tight ends. Excuse me for my lips there. I agree. I think this is Kyle Pitts' year to either make or break. This is year 3 in his career.
he ain't got no quarterback.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he hasn't. Everyone was talking about, hey, he's the next Kelvin Johnson. He's kind of built like Kelvin Johnson. Very underwhelming. Very underwhelming. Yeah. And I was a big proponent of him coming into Detroit when they were drafting a couple years ago. Like that. Yeah, I know they're consistent of taking tight ends, and we're all sick of it, but this might be a guy worth taking. Glad they didn't.
Dude,
Glad they didn't.
I think Atlanta's going to be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes, and that's probably the best thing that can happen for them. Because Desmond Ridder is not an NFL starting quarterback, dude.
They said the same thing about Tom Brady in 2001.
Dude, that's an outlier. That's a once-in-a-lifetime type player. Desmond Ridder was taken in the 4th round. Dude, who is he throwing? Who the hell is he throwing the ball to? There's nobody around Pitts. That's it.
No
and then they're putting all this merit into a rookie running back. They are going to be trash.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough season. I agree. But fortunately, he plays in the worst division, so we'll see. So this will be the make or break year for Pitts. And I disagree with you as far as Waller goes. I think him leaving Vegas is a good thing. I think him going to New York, a new place. You look at Danny Dimes, especially if Barkley's not there, they're really going to rely on him. And I see him being kind of what their receivers did last year. Not a whole lot. And I think it's one of the biggest reasons why they didn't go very far in the playoffs. Although, he looked really well in the first game, which got him a major contract. But I think Waller's going to be the guy that he leans on, just like you said about Ingram. Ingram's going to be kind of the X factor down there in Jacksonville. Goldilocks is really going to be looking to him to, when he's in trouble, if he's being rushed out of the pocket, you have a damn good tight end there that could be capable of making the plays. And I think they're the same quarterbacks. Not one and the same. They're very similar where they're both very athletic. And I think Trevor Lawrence has a better arm, but Waller's definitely somebody to look into.
Hold on before you move on. I've had Waller each of the last 2 seasons in my fantasy leagues, and he has been totally underwhelming.
Yeah.
He had a great year in 2020, but he has been underwhelmed. Ever since he signed that extension, he's had a lot of injury problems too.
Yeah. But new place might help him out, in a new system and maybe a better quarterback. We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah.
But here's some sleepers. I think Dalton Schultz leaving the Cowboys is a really good situation. You're under the microscope in Dallas. You drop a pass, you are enemy number 1. He's going to Houston, and he's going to
Stroud's outlet.
CJ Stroud is going to use him as a security blanket. He's very athletic. He's a great route runner, and he showed flashes the past 2 years in Dallas. And frankly, I am surprised Dallas let him go. And even down the street to Houston, which was actually kind of surprising to me. And then here's another guy that's been, he's kind of been in the conversation. He has some good games. He has some bad games. But I think this a lot depends on the quarterback situation. I think David Njoku is somebody who you're going to look at to help Deshaun Watson, a.k.a. Rub and Tug, to really lean on. And God knows we don't need anyone leaning on Deshaun Watson. But here's a guy that's got hands. He can go up and get the ball.
Will Njoku ever live up to his first-round billing,
And here we go. I think the common theme with a lot of my picks today have been it's put up or shut up. This is, defining moment in their careers. And that's usually when players do their best contract year. They're on the verge of, will they get re-signed or not? This is when they kind of shine. So I kind of went with that approach with my picks. So we'll see.
I was waiting for one of us to say Luke Schoonmaker. He is going to be the Cowboys' starting tight end.
Right. I think another year in college would have done him well, but
he actually was graded really, really well coming out.
They were excited to get him. They were high on him, and
they were excited enough about him not to re-sign Dalton Schultz. So
it says a lot. But then again, that puts the bright light on him. That puts a lot of pressure on a rookie going into probably the biggest hotbed fan base in all of NFL. So, but yeah, there was quite a few Michigan Wolverines taken this year, which was exciting. Which leads us into our next segment, folks. College football. Boy, it's coming up. It's coming up. Can't wait. So we're gonna go over under for player stats for the good guys and for the bad guys. And we all know who the bad guys are. Just kidding. Love you, Dad. So we'll start with you, Tim. We're going to put up this graphic here, and you compiled this list of player stats over under. I think these are your speculations.
Yeah, my speculations.
And then what they did last year, or in McCord's situation, what he has done in his career thus far. So go ahead and give the rundown and what you think, Tim.
Kyle McCord, I'm going to take the over on both. Ohio State's pretty notorious for plug-and-play quarterbacks under Ryan Day. They have a historic receiving core potentially, so I think he's going to have no problem with those receivers. Running backs, I try to throw out, realistic numbers, but I think both those guys are going to go under. I don't think either one of them are going to be running back one by the end of the season. I think it's going to go to Dallas Hayden, he was doing really good when they were injured last year. Marvin Harrison Jr., Tom used the term earlier, next Calvin. There he is. Give me the over. Rebecca, I'll take the over. Fleming, I'm going to take the under. I think he's going to step back a little bit. Hall Jr., probably a projected top 15 pick. If he wants to live up to that billing, he better have over 6 sacks. I think Jack Sauer is going to be a under, probably a little bit of a bust. And then JT, I'm not going for his last name because I'm not butchering it, probably over 6 sacks. He had a coming out game against Penn State. And this music's really making me happy. But yeah, that's my over and unders for Ohio State. They have Ohio State projected at 10.5 wins. I'm over definitely that. I don't see where the second loss would come from. And if it does come, you have to fire Ryan Day.
Oh, wow.
Well, we all think that if he doesn't get fired, the fan base is gonna go after him.
The guy will only be like 57-6 at that time,
It's different down there. You got to beat Michigan at least once every 2 or 3 years.
You figure that when you're born on third base, but we won't go.
Harbaugh's not far off with that saying right now.
Hey, I'm not a fan of Harbaugh. Anyone that's ever watched this show knows I'm not a fan of Harbaugh at all. So, all right. Well, thank you for those predictions there, Tim. JP, you are up, my friend.
Yeah, J.J. McCarthy. I think he's going to go over 32. I think he's going to take a big time step up this year. Over 25 touchdowns. I think that they're going to get more people involved. As Harbaugh mentioned, what the young kids say, everybody eats this year. Corum, I'm going to go under 1,400 yards. I think it's going to be more of a 1-2 punch with him and Edwards, which leads me to the next one, Donovan Edwards. I think he's going to go over 1,000. I think they'll both be right around that mark. I don't think that they're going to try to kill either one of these guys. I think they're going to try to hold on to them for the longevity of the season. Colston Loveland over 500 yards. He really came on in that OSU game and in the Big Ten title. I think he's a guy that's going to explode this year. I think he's a top 5 tight end in the country. Roman Wilson, a guy that has been underutilized, really came out in that game against TCU. I'm expecting for him to do big things. I think he's going to go over 500 yards. With that being said, I think Cornelius Johnson's targets and production will be kind of a little overshadowed by Roman Wilson. I'm going to go under 650. I think he'll be around where he was last year. My big breakout guy for Michigan this year, Braden McGregor, over 7.5 sacks. This is a guy that was a 5-star kid coming out. He's from Michigan, Port Huron area. He blew his knee out his senior year of high school. He's just now starting to round back into form. If you look at him in a set of shoulder pads and a helmet, he's almost a twin of Aiden Hutchinson. I think he's going to have a big breakdown.
Hold on one second. Hold on, JP.
There we go. All right, so on to the next one. Jalen Harrell, 6.5. I think he's going to go under. I think Josiah Stewart, the transfer from Coastal Carolina, is going to take a lot of snaps from him. Josiah Stewart was a guy that had 12.5 sacks at Coastal Carolina. And then Derek Moore, a sophomore from Maryland, who got a lot of playing time last year. I think he's going to get a lot of playing time on the edge too. Chris Jenkins, a guy, preseason All-Big Ten, preseason All-American potential. He's actually beefed up 25 more pounds. The guy's jacked. He only had 2 sacks last year. I think he'll go over 4.5, not by much, but he will. He's a 3 technique guy in the middle. He's quick. He's strong. I think he's going to have a big breakout year. He's a projected first-round pick.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is what makes this show so much better than everybody else out there. The depth, the detail, the knowledge that JP brings and that Tim brings with his Buckeyes. But we are definitely thankful for that. But, man, you guys broke that down really good. One thing I will say, but it wouldn't shock me if it happened, 35 touchdowns with McCord, that's lofty goals. That's lofty goals.
I think he'll be a top 5 pick in next year's draft.
I
would almost friendly wager. You guys want to put $20 he's a top 5 pick next year?
Well, we could sit that down. We're not talking about money. We're talking about $20 in like food credits or whatever.
Yeah.
We don't bet for money around here.
No. Right.
But I mean, it's a lot of pressure. This is a lot of pressure from a guy that I don't even – has he been named the starter yet?
Yeah, he's a starter.
Okay, but, there was a lot of question marks. But this is the year that is JJ going to make – there's a lot of people that are talking that he can't win the big game. And I disagree with that. I think he showed a lot of progression in his – as the season went on. And how he played against Ohio State was phenomenal. Went into a buzzsaw situation in Columbus. And that is infamous.
I think, when you build up those when you play in those big games, you build that callus. You know what I mean? And having that big game experience will help him mightily. I mean, you got to remember before this is his first year as a starter last year. Which like McCord, what he's going to go into this year. And
go ahead. No, and 2. He was the first-year starter, and there was a lot of naysayers in his locker room. So there was a lot of pressure put on the guy that hangs just over your left shoulder. So, and I think he met the situation. He met it. He met the mountaintop. And one thing I really am impressed with him is his football IQ. Nothing is too much for him. He goes out there, he does his meditation at the goalpost, and he kind of takes it all in. And he's kind of a rare bird. You don't see too many players like him out there today. And I'm not saying that because I'm a Michigan fan. I just look at him in general compared to a lot of these other kids. I'm sure his NIL deal is very lofty, but he's playing for the love of the University of Michigan. And I don't think you see a lot of college players doing that these days. But Tim?
We're going to learn a lot about Kyle McCord week 3 at Notre Dame. So we'll learn a lot about him early on.
Yeah.
Week 8, he's at Wisconsin. And then, we call that Michigan. So he better be title tested enough by week 12 to figure it out.
And for JJ, for him to take the next step, he's got to connect on more of those deep balls this year. I think he had a problem last year overthrowing guys. We know he's got plenty of arm, but sometimes he needs to know when to, he needs to figure out when to put the touch on the ball. And I think that, new quarterback coach Kirk Campbell, who's a guy that the program's really high on, should help out, passing game coordinator as well, should help out in that aspect. He's a guy that everybody raves about. Sounds like he has the top recruit in the country from Belleville dead to rights. You know what I mean? So he's a really good quarterback coach, a really good young football mind, and we'll see if that pays dividends for JJ. But he's got to connect on the deep balls this year. Yeah,
it seemed like he had a cannon, and it wasn't for a good thing. When he put the ball just over the defensive back's reach, he would shoot a line drive at it. But like I said before, as the season went on, his touch seemed to get a little bit better. Yeah. And with the proper coaching, I think it definitely could help him out. So, man, I cannot wait. This show is going to be so much better once football season starts. Between college.
We're there.
Between college and pros. Oh, I can't wait. It's just going to be
so. Did you guys see Dan Campbell doing his down-ups yesterday?
Oh, yeah.
How come
football is back?
Did that with us?
Yeah, right.
Man, I was bummed to see the Jets got Hard Knocks. I would have liked to see the Lions in it again. That would have been a lot of fun, but that's just selfish me. So
yes, Sauce Gardner bought Aaron Rodgers a new number 8 chain and presented it to him.
I saw that.
They have an odd relationship there between Sauce and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, they when they played, Sauce Gardner went up to him and I don't know if he got Rodgers' jersey or they kind of made a friendship, right? After that game, and they started talking. And of course, when he found out that Rodgers was going to New York, he was his biggest cheerleader.
Excited. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So there's another aspect that's going to be fun to watch. But man, college football season. When's first week?
August 26th, week 0.
Yeah. Notre Dame and Navy in Ireland.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So. Man, I'm excited. So, fellas, are you ready?
Get those betting slips ready. It's time for Ain't My Money, Not My Problem, where we make the picks, you make the money.
Oh, yeah. You know what time it is. We give you the bets. You open up those apps, throw a little money down. Who knows? If you win, throw us a little bone. JP, it ain't your money.
That's not my problem.
What you got?
All right, I'm going to the Diamond tomorrow. Rangers versus Astros money line. Astros still trying to get healthy, trying to get right. Rangers coming off of a series with the Dodgers this weekend where they look pretty good. I think they're going to keep rolling in that game. And then Reds money line versus Brewers. So the Brewers swept the Reds in a 3-game series after the All-Star break.
That was in Milwaukee, correct?
Yeah, in Milwaukee. We're going back to Milwaukee.
Okay.
And I don't see them taking 4 games straight from the Reds. So you combine those 2 picks, the Rangers and Reds money line at plus 297.
All right. Tim, it's not your money.
It's not my problem.
What you got?
I have 2 of them. I have a UFC 291 next week. I have a 4-leg parlay. I have Derek Lewis, Kevin Holland, Alex Pereira, and Dustin Poirier all winning. at plus 1164. And then my futures is Ohio State over under wins 10.5. Hopefully my better half's not listening, but bet the mortgage on the over.
So something tells me she's listening.
Sell the 401 for that, but I think that's a ridiculous.
Busted.
Take the one loss. If you guys want it with Michigan, take it. But I don't see them losing too. No way.
Yeah, well, that might be a safe play. We'll see, and maybe we'll hear from the better half. I'm sure she'll let you know that that's not going to happen.
I'm locked out of the house.
So yeah, right. Tom, can I come back over? I don't know. All right. So it's not my money, so it's not my problem either. So I'm going with a 3-legger, although DraftKings would not let me put this into a parlay. So USC over 10 wins. The over-under's 10. I'm taking the over plus 100. I'm going with the Huskies of Washington. The over-under is 9.5 wins. I think this is the sleeper team of the year in the Pac-12. I'm taking the over at plus 125. And this one was shocking to me.
Big Michael Penix fan, huh?
Well, he's like a 15th year senior, coming off. I think he's got 2 replacement hips and knees. Just kidding, but
he's got a rocket arm.
He showed signs last year, man. He looked really good, and I think he only gets better. So again, that one was 9.5. The over under. I'm taking the over at plus 125. And like I was saying, this is the shocker one. The Colorado Buffaloes over under wins. You ready for this? 3.5. Give me the over at plus 120. 3.5. I mean, if that is what Vegas thinks about Coach Prime in his first year at Colorado, after all the hooting and hollering going on, all the transfer portaling going on, man, that's disrespect. I don't know. They must not believe in him.
That's a toughie though, man, because they just did a complete roster overhaul, and I think it's going to take Prime a little bit of time to get some guys in there and a little bit of sustainability. You know what I mean? I mean, his son is his quarterback, and I do like Shador, but I don't know, man. I think they're going to get rolled over, and plus, with as gaudy and as loud as he's been, I think they have a big-time target on their back.
Yeah.
Teams are going to bring it for Colorado every week.
You're right on that aspect, because they were the talk of the town. And when he signed with Colorado, I mean, there was a big buzz around there. So,
yeah.
But it is shocking that's 3.5. So I'm going for the over. Today's the over party. And in one thread there, it was all Pac-12 teams. That's interesting.
Hey, it ain't my money.
I took USC last time, so
my money.
It'll be definitely interesting to see how that plays out. So, fellas, this was a great show tonight. Again, we were missing Rich. Hopefully, he'll be back with us next show. If we do one next week, maybe it'll be Saturday, but we'll see, because I'm going out of town. But with that being said, JP, got any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on the NFL veterans returning to training camp yesterday, and how that warms the cockles in my heart to see football back. It's back. Our show is going to change big time. Like they said, the new House Divided segment coming soon, Michigan, Ohio State. It's going to be and we're going to lead up all the way into the final game of the season. It's going to be epic. We'll talk about it every week. We're going to hit it on it every week once the season starts. We're going to track both of these teams closely. And I'm just looking forward to it all, man. Back in our element. You know what I mean? And it's our time. These last couple shows have been good. Been having a lot of fun with it. Things seem to be clicking now. And we finally found a decent fourth partner, Tim. Thanks for showing up. I know you got to wake up at early, with the Roosters to go to work and whatnot. And you still find a way to make it on here, but
people need their beer. Damn it!
People need their beer, and you're supplying it. So, but yeah, everything's all good over here, man. That's it. That's all I got. And every week it seems like it gets harder and harder to come up with something new to talk about. So,
but we find a way to make it good.
Trying to find a way to touch on the things that excite me and make me happy, and football is certainly one of that. Sorry, Melissa, that. Football is coming, and you're going to have to sit through all this as if baseball season hasn't been enough. But yeah, that's it for me, guys.
Sweet. Tim, any closing thoughts?
JP said it best. We made it. Football season's here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for dealing with us through the summer slow seasons. Next week, we'll be talking about the Hall of Fame game, maybe. Brandy, if you just heard what Justin said, sorry, football season's here. That was his saying, not mine. Just listen to him. And next week, guys, if you hear this, we'll be giving away some Lion tickets. So make sure you tune in next week.
Yeah, for sure. My closing thoughts today are, I do want to thank Tim for jumping on board and being our fourth host here. I almost said guest because he's not a guest anymore. He made it to the intro. Tim was basically our first really loyal listener. He was there like clockwork, and even when he came in late, he admitted, I feel like I'm punching in late for work. So, well, we're thankful for that, and we took notice early. And when the time came for an opportunity to bring somebody else on board, yeah, he's a Buckeye fan, but he's got a wealth of knowledge, and he's dedicated, and that's all you can ask for. He's got his own family. It's Sunday night. It's not always the easiest time to go. JP, this is his schedule because he works night shift. I was there with him. Thank God I'm not anymore, but I understand his pain. So we work around his schedule. So being able to take our situation and make that part of his and be loyal, he makes the drive out to the Speakeasy every Sunday. And that's dedication. And what he is doing next week, he is a season ticket holder. He is putting up a preseason game tickets for a Lions game. And again, I mean, I'm thankful. I know I speak for JP and Rich. That's awesome. And we couldn't be more excited to have him on board. And your sister, JP, great crew. I agree. They make me look better. So, but no, so look for trivia question next week. And we're going to be putting it on all of the socials throughout the week, getting everybody excited about next week's show. So, oh boy, she checked in, but I was surprised she didn't hit with with your betting, but we won't go there. She'll have to go back if she didn't hear it already. So, but yeah, I mean, I think Brandy hit it best here. We all are in that situation. I know I always wanted to be into sports. This gives me an ability to kind of live out my dream per se, even though, it's this in this nature, but I'll take it. I love it. I love all the engagement from the viewers and the listeners, and look forward to getting even better as the year goes on and with football season. So with that being said, we look forward to seeing you guys next time. Again, trivia question, look for it. It's going to be a tricky one. It's going to be a tricky one. I'll just let you know right now. So, but this will be a first for the Easyspeak podcast. We've never gone down this road. We're looking forward to it, starting a new tradition. So give us a like, follow, subscribe on all the socials. Please, guys, this helps us out. This makes us better. This gives us better reach. So we look forward to seeing you guys right back here next week. We'll see you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Easyspeak at Speakesy330 podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Check us out on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We look forward to sharing another cold one with you right here next time for another fun-filled episode. Cheers.